If you're watching this video, there's a chance you're already aware of the monumental failure of Capcom releasing Street Fighter V. That there's no arcade mode, that the story mode is atrocious, that the servers are a joke, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. We'll get to that later. What's more important is this. If you bought this game, you were scammed. You fell for it. Oops! Capcom stole your wallet and got away on an expensive helicopter, laughing all the way to the bank. As of the recording of this video, Street Fighter V is not a game, it is a beta. And even though all DLC will be unlockable throughout time, the fact of the matter is, you're left without an actual game until the rest comes. This is just temporary, the rest of the game will come in due time, stop complaining. If that's what you're saying, then you're part of the problem. Capcom has vouched for changing the precedent of game development by doing away with paid DLC. But can you imagine if all games started doing this? Uncharted 4 is only playable for 5 minutes because we're still making the rest. Thank you for the $60. Are you liking this new Zelda? Yeah, well the Ganondorf Conclusion Pack will be available next year. Thank you for the $60. I'll be honest, I fell for it. I bought the Collector's Edition because I was happy Capcom was doing away with DLC. But what I was really doing was encouraging this kind of development, which is shitty and lazy. If your game's not ready, just don't release it. Stop it. Just wait, please. Pay your developers. And stop looking at my wallet like that. It's giving me the creeps. Now about this game. Let's talk about the good first, shall we? The fighting in this game is solid. Capcom took the good parts of Street Fighter 4 and carried them over to Street Fighter 5. It's a lot harder to be a cheap player, which is good news for people like me who usually sit at the bottom tier of fighting games. This game isn't about cheap combos anymore. It's about technique. It's about learning the ins and outs of your favorite character and using them to string awesome combos and feel like a badass. They've introduced a mechanic called V-Trigger, which essentially is either a unique move or a buff for your character. This is a welcome change because it adds depth to the roster, and it's actually fun to experiment with each fighter and see what their V-Trigger or special move are. Speaking of the roster, we have 16 characters. A lot of people may be turned off by this, but believe me when I say it's a good thing. The fighters, at least for now, seem to be very balanced with one another, and they're each so uniquely different to play as. The bad news? It's pretty much unplayable. Alright, so here's the thing that aggravates me the most. The most unforgivable thing they could have done, they did it. When you fight in story mode or survival, you receive points, right? With these points, you can eventually unlock costumes and characters, which is cool. So I'll just play through story mode and... What just happened? I was disconnected from the server. Alright, so they're having server issues. They brought me back to the menu. That's weird, but alright, I guess I'll play offline and collect points. What's this? I need to be online to get points? That's right. If you plan on unlocking anything in this game, or making it worth your while to even play, you need to be online connected to their servers. So you know what that means? That means if their servers are down, or you can't connect to the internet, you're not getting any points. You're wasting your time, literally. What they don't tell you is this game requires you to be connected at all time to earn points. God forbid you have low internet, or the servers go down. Because then, you'll be dropped from your match instantly and sent back to the main menu with no points. And look, I want to cut Capcom a break with this because servers are usually, they have issues and I can forgive that. But when a game is so tied down to being online and connected to the server that's not working, you literally cannot progress in the game. So it's broken. Alright, so even if the servers are working, let's take a look at each mode individually. First, we'll look at story mode. I hate to be critical, but what do you see here? What is this?
We will tangle with fighters all over the world, continue to build muscle, and finally...
Very quick, no effort drawing splashed together on a landscape background with voice acting. How much did this really cost to make, really? Alright, I'll be fair. It's been stated that this is more of a backstory for the characters. And there's eventually going to be a story mode that's more like the new Mortal Kombat, yada yada yada. But even considering that, could we maybe get more than 3 or 4 matches? I beat Ryo's story in less than 10 minutes. Oh, by the way, you know those cool costumes you unlock in story mode? Yeah, you won't actually be able to get to use those. You only unlock them in story mode. So that means if you planned on showing off that cool Chun-Li costume unlocked in story mode, you won't be able to. It's things like this that make me really wonder, what's the point of doing this? Why be able to unlock something you can't even play in multiplayer? What's the point? Survival mode is boring. You just fight a string of characters, and you can choose, like, if you want to, I don't know, like, spend some of your points to heal your character. What's really missing here is arcade mode. No arcade mode is bad news for us offline players because it leaves us with very few options to fight against the computer. Sure, you could say survival mode replaces arcade mode, but it's really not the same as fighting your way through a short campaign. Versus mode is missing a very key component, and that is the ability to be able to play against the computer. You can only play versus mode if you physically have another controller and someone there to play with you. How hard is it? I just don't understand why they did this. Why would you do that? You can't play. This game is all about can'ts, what you can't do. You can't play against the computer. You can't use your costume. You can't get points because you're not online. You can't because our servers are down. You can't because fuck you. That's why. You can't because we're Capcom.
You're doing great. Besides, you're...
Sure you can!
I see.
Lastly, I want to talk about online. To be completely honest, it didn't work too well for me. Maybe because of the servers, maybe because of my own faulty internet. Who knows? What I can tell you is this game is very much geared towards online play. In fact, the better name for Street Fighter V is Street Fighter Online. Even looking at this main menu, it's more of a hub for what you can do online rather than offline. I had managed to play 2 matches, and from what I can understand, the computer will analyze and graph out if you're more of a defensive or an offensive player, which seems pretty cool. Matchmaking is still a bit of a blur and is not very user-friendly. They have something called Battle Lounge, which is your standard list of players hosting matches that you can join. As of right now, playing online is a bit of a mess, but I assume this will be fixed and modified at a later date. Hopefully that date is soon. With all that said, I'd like to finish with this. Capcom is and continues to be one of my favorite game companies. Without Capcom, there would be no Street Fighter, Mega Man, Phoenix Wright. The list could go on. But when it comes to this game, it shouldn't have been released. Hopefully in the coming months, Street Fighter V will continue to improve, and I will eat my words. But for now, well, I wouldn't blame you for going back to Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter Third Strike. Wait, are these games getting worse?